So are you struggling to figure out a way to learn new skills faster? Well, in this video, I'm going to share a technique with you that's going to help you do exactly that. Coming up. Hey there, it's Billy with Keep on Cashflow, helping you to grow your money and your mindset so that you can get closer to the lifestyle that you really want to lead faster. Now, on this channel, we're going to be sharing weekly tips and strategy videos just like this. So if it's your first time here, you're going to want to consider subscribing to the channel. And you're going to make sure that you want to check out the links and the comments that are in the section below, because week after week, the comments get better and better and the learning is even more amazing. So as for today, I want to talk to you about the technique that I've learned in the corporate world of how to learn new skills and do that much, much faster. And it's a technique known as the 10-70-20 technique. And what do I mean by that? Well, first of all, it's actually broken up into two different parts. The first part is 10%, the other part is 90%. I'm going to give you the theory quickly, and then I'm going to give you a couple of examples. So this 10-70-20 technique, first of all, is about classroom learning. So let's say it's more of a formal learning. So the first 10% is more of a formal learning for whatever that new skill is that you want to learn. The next 70% is more around you actually putting into action what you've learned by yourself. And then the next 20% is actually getting feedback from people that are already doing or have the skill that you want to learn. So let me give you a couple of examples. That way it'll make it very, very clear, and then I'll give you a couple tips at the end. So let's imagine that you want to learn a new language. Languages are close to my heart, so let's use that. Imagine you want to go out and you want to learn the language, Spanish language. So first and foremost, if you're not a native Spanish speaker, you're going to need some of the theory. So that is the first 10% that you would look for, is learning online, learning from books, learning from instructor-led courses, so that you can at least get the foundation and the theory behind this new skill. And then from there, you're going to need to use the next 70%, and that's actually taking what you've learned, that skill, and actually putting it into action. And if that means standing in front of a mirror, practicing, or looking at words all over your place, but this is basically you directing the learning. And then the last 70% in this example is getting feedback, maybe from a native speaker, someone that knows Spanish much better than you do. But that way, when you get their feedback, it's going to help you to become much more fluent, much faster. So that's the 10, the 70, and the 20%. And let me give you one more example just in case you're not into languages. But another idea is, think about real estate. If you want to go out and you want to be a real estate investor, first and foremost, you're going to want to look for that 10%. There's so much free content online, or you can look for an instructor-led course. You can look for paid courses, but you need to get the understanding, the basic understanding as to what is real estate investing all about. And so you spend 10% of your time there. The next 70%, once again, is taking everything that you've learned in the course and you actually putting it into action. So the formulas that you've learned, writing them down, getting clear on why you want to be an investor, if you want to do it long distance, however you want to do that. But this is really you driving the learning portion and learning being self-directed. And then the last 20% in this case is going out looking for a mentor or a coach, someone who, imagine that you want to own 1,000 units of property. Well, probably the best person or coach or mentor to look for is someone who's already done that. So once again, you've learned the basics, you've put a lot of what you've learned into action really quickly, and then you've also gone out to look for someone who is already where you want to be. So by being able to use this technique, it's very simple and extremely effective. And the most important part is the 70% is that you need to make sure that you go out and do the work. So let me just leave you with a couple of tips to make sure that you're learning new skills faster. First of all, you're going to want to understand or identify those things that are best for you. So understanding, being clear on what your goals are and what your dreams are. Then you're going to want to make sure that you set time aside so that you can actually learn the skill, put it into practice. A lot of that 70% that we talked about before, you're going to be doing in this in the learning space. And then you're going to need to apply what you're learning and get that feedback. So those are just kind of 3 tips to also help you to identify what the skill is that you want to build and do that much faster. So I always like to leave you with the question of the day. And today's question is, which skill are you going to go out there and learn and use this 10-70-20 technique to get your skill set much faster? So, looking forward to seeing your comments in the section below and the interactions with everyone else. This is Billy Keels with Keep On Cash Flow. That's my 2 cents for today. And as always, hasta la próxima.